Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Gators First podcast. This is covering the national games of week four around college football. The first game of interest nationally is West Virginia traveling to Colorado on a Thursday night. West Virginia was recently in the top 10 until they lost to East Carolina, and really a shocking game that everyone around college football took notice of. And Colorado's look like they're improving under Dan Hawkins, who's, I believe, in his third year at the school after leaving Boise State. West Virginia hasn't fared too well in road games, so I'm really tempted to take Colorado in this game, although I think West Virginia is probably the better team. But from what I saw out of them at East Carolina, I don't know how I can pick them to win this game. So I'm going to go with Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Good beer there. That's any school that starts with West or East usually loses. Colorado.
Well, let it be noted that West Virginia played East Carolina a couple weeks ago, so that theory doesn't really work. But yeah, I'm gonna take West Virginia. West Virginia is really great on the ground. Noel Devine and Pat White both have roughly about 150 yards this year on the ground. Pat White has 5 touchdowns, 1 interception so far. I think that they get it done. They have so much speed. I don't think Colorado could keep up with them, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with West Virginia on the road. The next game we got here is Virginia Tech at North Carolina. North Carolina scored a big upset last week. In my mind, they scored a big upset going into the game. They beat Rutgers, and I was really expecting Rutgers to run all over them, but North Carolina showed me something. They ended up winning. I think it was 41-13, something like that, something very close. Virginia Tech also had a pretty impressive win last week. They beat Georgia Tech, but they had also lost the season to East Carolina, who's looking pretty good. I don't know what to think. Butch Davis has really turned this team around. They went ahead and beat Miami last year in a good game at North Carolina. He knows what he's doing. He's really good at rebuilding teams. He's really good at recruiting. North Carolina has a ton of talent in the state, and I think that they're on the right track. But at the same time, Virginia Tech is a pretty good team. Frank Beamer's a good coach. I think that Beamer ball wins and Virginia Tech wins probably by a touchdown.
UNC has the advantage of playing at home. They had a little bit longer to prepare because they played the Thursday night game last week at Rutgers. However, those their young recruits are coming off the high of winning that game. They're going to be, maybe they won't be as concentrated on this next game. Won't be able to make the quick turnaround. And Virginia Tech losing East Carolina, I've already stated, I think it's sort of an anomaly where I think Virginia Tech is better than they showed in that game. So even though UNC has the advantages I named, I gotta take Virginia Tech.
North Carolina, come on and raise up. Take your shirt off. Twist around your head just like a helicopter. Yeah, that's all I got. They win! Be nice.
Also on Saturday, Boise State is traveling to Autzen Stadium to take on Oregon. This should be a fairly exciting game. Everyone thinks of Boise State and thinks of high-powered offense and all the trick plays from the Fiesta Bowl a couple of years ago. And certainly Oregon has had the most explosive offense in the last couple of years under Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator. Oregon is going to be starting a new quarterback because Justin Roper last week, it was found out he's going to be out the next 4 to 6 weeks because of his injury from last week. However, they'll have the next guy ready to play, the dual threat quarterback. Anyways, I got to take Oregon at home. Boise State, yeah, it'll be an interesting game and fun to watch, but I think Oregon's the better team, and they'll pull it out at home.
Boise State, I don't know, like watching the blue field. That's Statue of Liberty. Can't beat it. I'm very excited. They beat Oregon. No Dennis Dixon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the upset card. I think Boise State takes this. The reason, even though Autzen Stadium is a really, really tough place to play. Oregon lost their starting quarterback, and you saw what happened when Oregon lost their starting quarterback last year. They lost 3 in a row. Boise State still has Ian Johnson on the ground. He has 184 yards and 3 touchdowns.
And a hot wife.
And a very hot wife. Very, very true. But I got to go ahead and take them. They beat Bowling Green last week, who had beaten Pittsburgh earlier in the season. I know that's not looking like a marquee win at this point, but at that time it was. This is their first road game. It's going to be a big test. They've probably been looking forward to this for a long while. I'm going to go ahead and take Boise State. The next game that we have here is Miami at Texas A&M. Miami killed Texas A&M last year. Texas A&M has looked awful so far this year. I really don't know what to say about them. I don't know how to read them. Miami, we've seen them here in the Swamp. That defense is very, very fast, very strong, especially the defensive line. They shredded apart Florida's offensive line for most of the game. I think that Miami wins pretty handily. I don't think that A&M has the speed or the talent. I know that McGee might be coming back for this game at quarterback, but even if he does, I don't think that they win. A&M lost to Arkansas State earlier this year at home. I just can't believe something like that, especially at a place like College Station that's known for the 12th man, so to speak, and they get all this cred for having great fans, but apparently they can't beat Arkansas State at home. That's pretty lame. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with Miami. I think they win pretty handily, 10 to 14 points.
I also think you have to take Miami in this game. I was kind of leaning that way, although I wasn't real sure how good their offense is. I still think you have to take them because Texas A&M just looked terrible. And I asked my cube mate, who was a Texas A&M grad, who I should take in this game, and he's like, "Dude, don't take us. Take Miami." So I'm taking Miami. Staying within the state of Florida, another game of interest, especially to Floridians, would be Wake Forest at Florida State. Wake Forest has beaten them, I believe, 3 in a row now. This game is in Doak Campbell. We don't really know what to think of Florida State this year because they haven't played too much competition. They should be getting a couple of players back, I believe, from suspension for this game. Wake Forest has looked pretty good. Granted, they went on the road to Baylor, who isn't very good, but they still took care of business and blew them out like they were supposed to. I think that Florida State at home, this is a sign of them making a little comeback here. I think they're going to win this game, that they'll be fired up for it.
Yeah, I actually am going to take Florida State as well. They've outscored their opponents, even though they were powerhouses, Western Carolina and Chattanooga. They've outscored their opponents 115-7 so far this season. Wake Forest has played 2 pretty tough games. Baylor's really not all that bad, and they blew them out. They also played Mississippi at home and won a close game 30-28. So they've played some tough games. I'm not really sure what to think about Florida State here. Now that they have Christian Ponder back there, they're always going to have weapons, especially from players here in the state of Florida. They're going to have some speed. But I think that this is a big game for Florida State to show everybody that maybe they can be back. Maybe they can win some games. I think that they are going to be extremely pumped up. It's going to be a close game, but I think that Florida State goes ahead and takes the game. And the last game of the week is Notre Dame at Michigan State. Man, I don't know what to think of Notre Dame. Last week they played Michigan at home. They beat Michigan in a very, very rainy game. It was such a sloppy game. Michigan gave them the game. I didn't think Notre Dame played all that well at all. If you watched any of the game, I thought that Jimmy Clausen played like crap all game. I still think that they're terrible. I don't know how they won. Mistakes and rain and fumbles and all that stuff added up to it, but I think that Michigan State probably wins this game. It's at Michigan State. They're a much tougher team, even though I was extremely surprised by their loss at California. California really handed it to them. They won 38-21. And I was really surprised by that, but I think that Michigan State pulls it off. Michigan State's 2-1. They're 2-0 at home, so they're playing another home game. I don't think that they lose this game. It's Notre Dame's first road game of the season, and I don't think Notre Dame's all that good. So I'll take Michigan State.
Also, I was very surprised about the Notre Dame game last week. I mean, I just think they're terrible. And I really like Mark D'Antonio, Michigan State's coach. Michigan State's favored by 8.5 points. They're playing at home. I gotta say Michigan State. However, I was pretty wrong about Notre Dame last week, but I think that was more, like Chris said, Michigan handing them the game, and more Michigan being terrible than Notre Dame actually being good. I think that was Notre Dame prevailing because somebody had to win that game, and neither team was good. So I think Michigan State wins.
All right, so that'll wrap it up this week 4 of the college football season preview, and we're gonna go ahead and wish you guys a happy weekend and hope that the Gators pull it out and all the SEC teams do well and show everybody why the SEC is the best conference in the country and why the Gators should be in the top 5 at least in the national championship discussion. So for James and Ryan, this is Chris. Take care.